Hi everyone, thanks for joining me. Today I want to do a quick chat about Black Edge. This is the most recent book that I finished, and I actually read this one in hardcover, which is kind of different for me because usually I read everything electronically. But actually, I got this book as a gift from my sweet cousin and her husband, and they sent it to me. They wrote a little inscription here. You know, they thought the book would interest me because of the subject matter, which I'll talk about a bit more about here in a bit. But yeah, thanks to my cousin Angela and her husband David for sending me this to read because I really enjoyed it. The subtitle of this is called Inside Information, Dirty Money, and the Quest to Bring Down the Most Wanted Man on Wall Street. And this is written by Sheelah Kolhatkar, and it was published this year, 2017, by Random House. So, this was so good because I would have it's probably not something that I would have, thought about reading, but I got it as a gift. And so once I looked at it a little closer, what it is really true crime. And it really came at a cool time because there had been this tag going around on BookTube about like genres that people wish that there were more of that were presented. And one of the videos I listened to, the person, and I don't remember who it was, mentioned that she wished that there was more true crime books, talked about. And I thought, yeah, me too. It's been a long, long time since I read true crime, but this is a true crime, white collar crime. And just to read a little bit about what it's about, I thought what I'd do is just kind of go by the dust jacket to give a brief description. The first paragraph says, Stephen A. Cohen changed Wall Street. He and his fellow pioneers of the hedge fund industry didn't lay railroads, build factories, or invent new technologies. Rather, they made their billions through speculation, by placing bets in the market that turned out to be more right than wrong. And for this, they gained not only extreme wealth, but formidable influence throughout society. Hedge funds now oversee more than $3 trillion in assets. So yeah, this book is about Wall Street and specifically the hedge fund, industry, which got started, maybe like 20 years ago. And this book tells the story of this man, Stephen A. Cohen, who started one of the largest hedge funds and was a pioneer sort of in the hedge fund industry. And the hedge fund was called SAC Capital. And Black Edge stands for, what that means in financial, lingo is hedge funds make money by little small changes in the stock market. And so any kind of information that they can get about about what a company's stock's going to go, like maybe they're going to have a new product. This book delves a lot into a particular case which had to do with the pharmaceutical biotechnology industries, and that's why my cousin and her husband thought I may be interested in it because I actually work in that industry. So this tells the story of this particular case because the government started getting suspicious that there was insider trading going on because it's illegal for people who work in industries that are traded on the stock market to share confidential information that may affect the stock price. And so Black Edge is inside, it's lingo for inside information. And the hedge fund SAC Capital actually made that into a fine art, if you could say that, gathering inside information and funneling that to make literally billions upon billions of dollars. So yeah, the last paragraph here is pretty telling too. Black Edge, the book, offers a revelatory look at the gray zone in which so much of Wall Street functions. It's a riveting, true-life legal thriller that takes readers inside the government's pursuit of Cohen and his employees and raises urgent and troubling questions about the power and wealth of those who sit at the pinnacle of modern Wall Street. Yeah, it does. It reads like a thriller. I really almost couldn't put it down. I mentioned that it's probably not a book I would have normally picked up because usually when you start talking finances to me, my eyes glaze over and I can't sit. I just can't, my mind doesn't wrap itself around financial stuff very, very easily. And so, I just don't have that sort of mind. So when I first thought about reading this book, I thought, I don't know, because I'm interested in what's going on Wall Street on the one hand, but then on the other hand, when it gets into a lot of details of the financials and the different kinds of investments and things like that, I get lost. But that's not how this book is. This is really the story of the government pursuing, trying to make their case against these different people. There's wiretapping, there's kind of spies that go to meet people that work in pharmaceutical companies in particular around a certain drug that was getting released. To try to gather information, and they are successful in getting this information, and they make millions and millions of dollars, but then the government is one step behind them. And that's one of the things that really struck me about the book is that these people that worked in this industry, at least as depicted in this book, are just the most amoral people in the book read like fiction to me because it's just such a world that I don't live in. And so I can't relate to. So to me, it was a fictional world, even though, I had to remind myself, this actually happened. These people actually did these things. And it's, I don't want to give it away because it does read like a thriller. So I don't want to spoil it, even though it's public knowledge. And, a lot of it was in the news at the time. I didn't pay a lot of attention to it. Some of it rang a few bells of familiarity to me, but for the most part, I didn't remember much about it. So reading it to me was a real page turner. But, I think it was cool, too, the way that in the order that I read this book. So I read this book immediately after reading a couple of books that are the complete opposite of this. One was Resurrection by Leo Tolstoy, and I did a video on that, which I will link to down in the comments below. But Resurrection is, this story by Leo Tolstoy of this wealthy, privileged, aristocrat in late 19th century Russia who witnesses a trial, sort of the injustice of a trial, a jury trial, and through that, and someone he knows is being, tried for murder, and through witnessing that, he has a change of consciousness and starts to see the injustice and the inequality and the privilege that his class has, and he ultimately goes through this whole change of consciousness thing, but these people on Wall Street just epitomize that novel, that structure of privilege, money-making privilege that Tolstoy talked about in Resurrection. And then the book immediately prior to this that I read was also about Leo Tolstoy's War and Peace. It was called Give War and Peace a Chance. And it talks about, ways of living a good life as illustrated in the novel War and Peace. And I did a chat on that too. I'll put a link down in the comments. But, how to live a good life. These people that are working at this company are the complete opposite. They may be multimillionaires many times over, making hundreds of millions of dollars even, but they are, by the definitions of what is a good life, by most measurements that I would follow, meaning that book that was described in that book, Give War and Peace a Chance, as well as through the Stoicism videos that I've done with Epictetus's work, as well as a lot of the other just examples in literature that I've seen of what a good life is, a good and successful life. These people may be at the top of Wall Street, but they're not having what I would define as a good life. They really seem like really, really empty, ruthless, amoral people that I really wouldn't wouldn't really want to know, and definitely wouldn't want to trust with any of my money. Gosh. Yeah, so I mentioned that it reads like a true crime novel, and the good guys don't always win, do they? I don't want to give away there's winners and there's losers in the book. Like I said, it is a thriller. Some people get away and some don't. And is there any justice? And ultimately, what ended up happening, I don't know. But it sure did make for an engaging read. So thanks again to my cousin Angela and her husband David for sending me Black Edge. I don't get that many gifts. This one was a great, it was a great fun experience to read, and I learned a lot too about modern Wall Street and how it operates, today. So I will leave it at that, and I should have another chat about something or another coming up fairly soon. So until then, take care. Bye.